Hello and welcome to a legendary mentality. So today we're going to talk about addictions and habits, and maybe not in the way that you think of addictions or habits either. We're going to talk about a lot of different angles, and we're going to talk about how they can be related. Sometimes they can be the same, and sometimes they can be completely opposites. But we're going to talk about the impact it has on your life just as much as it has on someone else's life as well. Technology has obviously revolutionized our lives. It's our go-to for work, play, and even relaxation, right? I mean, we just go there just to scroll. And I can just about guarantee that you have found yourself scrolling endlessly or playing games, video games for hours, maybe playing on your phone for hours, binge watching a show or a game show or movies, until the sun comes up, and only to feel more tired and feel unproductive, or maybe it doesn't bother you at all, but it still is unproductive time, right? And listen, I think those things every now and then are okay. I think it's the normal day to day that we have to look at and be concerned with or not concerned with and figure out. So it's not that like you can never binge watch movies for the week on the weekend. You can never have it all day, where you just sit around playing Xbox or whatever. And I'm not saying that, but it's more about the daily things, the habits that you create or that you have, or the addictions that you may have. Did you know that the average person spends 6 hours and 40 minutes a day on screens? That's more than 100 days per year spent in front of a screen. And that's not talking about work. That's not talking about what you do at work on a computer screen. And of course, that's an average. Not every single person does exactly that or that much, but you might be surprised how close you come to that number as well. So, we'll discuss some of that later on. Teens on average spend about 8 hours and 40 minutes on entertainment screens daily. That's nearly the same amount of time as a full-time job. Seriously. And even for kids, I would guarantee you that most kids don't realize how much time they spend on tech. Most of them probably don't care either, but most of them also probably don't know, or they probably highly underestimate how much time that they actually do spend on technology. So that's kind of what we're going to look at here. And we're not going to demonize technology in this video. All right, I'm not anti-technology. I'm not anti-video games. I'm not anti-binge watching shows. I'm not anti-anything technology. I love technology just as much as the next person does. I love playing video games. I love watching sporting events on TV. And sometimes, occasionally, I'll scroll on my phone. Not very often, but I do other things that are technology. So I'm not anti-technology at all, and I will not push you to be that way, nor do I feel like you have to be that way. All right, and it's not about complete elimination either. It's about transforming how you view technology and how you use technology to benefit you in your goals or dreams. That's really what we're talking about here. All right, so we want to cut down on any tech overuse, regardless what it is, and we want to rewire your habits and unleash your full potential without sacrificing what you love. Sacrifice is necessary, and I talk about that in several other videos, and I'll probably talk about that even a little bit today, because sacrifice really is huge. But it's learning how to sacrifice, when to sacrifice, and what to sacrifice that is so important. And like I said, I talk about that in some other videos in a little more in depth, so you can check one of those out. But for today, we're just going to talk about the addiction, the habits, mostly, and why and how we can work to fix those, different ways we can figure out how much we use or don't use as well. Technology addiction is more than just lost time. It impacts your relationships, your productivity, and even your mental and physical health, believe it or not. You also might be surprised at how many youth athletes quit playing sports altogether simply because they don't want to sacrifice their technology time for practice. They don't want to sacrifice their technology time to get better and to work hard when all of their buddies, all of their friends, are messing around at home, playing video games, playing games on their phone, or just, binge watching shows, scrolling social media, whatever a kid does on their phone and computers. That's the pull. That's the gravitational pull that pulls a lot of kids out of youth sports right now. Not all of them, but a lot of them quit simply because they don't want to sacrifice that time. And they'll have different reasons, that they just don't want to practice. They just don't want to spend the time doing the practice. They just don't want to do the physical stuff. But ultimately, it really comes back to the sacrifice of technology, and they don't want to do that. And a lot of times it takes a really long time for them to figure that out, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. And that's why this video is so important, because we want to tackle those things before they become a problem. Studies have also shown that excessive tech can lead to a 40% drop in productivity. Not while you're using the tech, but simply after using tech or before using tech. Think about how many times that you have not been on a technology device, but you were thinking about tech, and you were thinking about what you were going to do when you got back on your video game system, what you were going to do next time you got back on social media, next time you were going to do, next time you get on your computer, whatever it is. So just because you're not on technology doesn't mean it's not impacting you. And that is huge. That's really, really hard to work through sometimes. Multitasking between emails, social media, work, workouts, exercises, drills, it costs you way more time than you think. High screen time is also linked to increased anxiety and depression. I mean, you look at how many kids these days have anxiety, depression, and stuff like that, and a lot of it comes back to social media. And not just what they're consuming on social media. Some of it is, for sure, but a lot of it is just simply the excessive use of technology really distorts their reality and what they really think of the world, or how they view the world or view themselves. And that's a really, really sad thing to see happen. Sometimes it will be the constant notifications or the comparisons on social media. It can leave you feeling overwhelmed and depressed or inadequate, or hurt your self-confidence. I mean, and the list goes on. And a few physical health concerns are what they call tech neck, eye strain, sleep disruption. I mean, how many kids do you know, or how many people have you heard talk about, having severe insomnia? And obviously, I'm not saying everybody who has insomnia is because of technology. I'm just saying there are many, many, many cases where technology is the reason for someone having insomnia. So that's something else that we have to look at. Let alone the blue light that you get from technology devices. And the physical tolls from technology are bigger than we think they are. And I'm not saying all that to scare you, or to I'm not trying to make technology seem bad, terrible, but it is something we have to be in control of, and we have to be the ones controlling it. But with all of that said, there's absolutely really, really good news in all of this. Our mind is capable of being rewired. We can make incredible rewirings within our brain, and with the right strategies, you can regain control. You can take back those addictions. You can take back those habits and change them, or use them in a different way to make you more successful. Believe it or not, and this is one thing that we'll talk about at some point too, is that you can actually use technology in a lot of ways to actually make you better and increase your IQ, or increase your overall knowledge in the sport, or even just do different film studies. I mean, there's a plethora of ways that you can use technology to actually benefit your career and your future. So we'll talk about some of that in a little bit. What I want to talk about right now, though, is why it's so hard for us to, number one, see whether we have a problem, why it's so hard to get a hold of the problem, and why it's so hard for us to cut back or deal with the problem. Our brains are constantly being wired by everything that we do, everything we think, everything that we hear, everything that we say. It's all a part of the rewiring or the wiring of our subconscious mind. And that is where habits come from. That is where addictions come from. Our brains are seeking pleasure and they want to avoid discomfort. Our brain knows we don't like discomfort. It knows that we don't want to cry, we don't want to be sad, we don't want to feel emotions, we don't want to feel pain. Our mind knows that and our brain knows that because of the way that we've conditioned it throughout our entire lives. Each notification or level up triggers a dopamine release, the same chemical that reinforces habits like eating or exercising. So that dopamine hit, that dopamine feeling that we get from technology, whether it's a new video that we just saw, some mystery video, or maybe it's a funny video, or maybe it's winning a match in a video game. Whatever it is, like just scrolling through social media gives your body a dopamine hit that makes you keep wanting more, makes you keep wanting what's next. What's the next cool thing that I'm going to see? What's the next awesome video that's going to pop up? And that's the concern. That's where the addiction and the habit comes in. It's a lot like sugar. I mean, look how addicted a lot of us are to sugar. A little bit is very good and we love it, but a lot creates dependency, and the same goes for technology. When something is a part of your daily life, like tech, quitting isn't practical. And I'm not going to try to get you to completely quit. I'm not going to tell you that you can, never play a video game again. I'm not going to tell you you can't play anything else on your phone again. I'm not going to tell you that, you have to completely cut technology out of your life. I'm not going to do that because I don't think that that's necessary. And I don't think too many people would agree that it's necessary. So we're not going to do that. But we do want to learn how to cut back on technology. We do want to make sure that we are constantly making good decisions around technology. And that can be extremely exhausting without the right framework. So that's what we're going to go through next. And we're actually going to go through a few questions. I'm going to have you write some stuff down and take some notes. And then you can come back to this anytime you want to. And anytime you have a struggle with technology, you can come back and look at this and understand why it's important and what you need to do to keep going forward. So go grab a pen and paper or your phone. Okay, so now that you've grabbed your pen and paper, the first thing that I want you to do, and I want you to pause this video, and I want you to take a few minutes, take as long as you need to, but make sure you come back, of course. But I want you to write down how much time you spend on technology daily. And you can use apps on your phone like Wellbeing or Screen Time to check all of that on your phone. And don't lie about this, all right? Don't try to find a different day where you spent less technology. Look at today, look at yesterday, look at the last few days or the last week, and write down the amount of time you spent each day on your phone completely. Obviously, it's a little bit harder to do that for video games and stuff like that, but you can estimate how long you think you've played video games or how long you think you played, watch something on your computer, whatever the technology is, or even music. Music is also technology as well, and it can actually be very distracting depending on how we use it too. So write down how much time you've used any technology at all, including music, video games, watching videos, whatever it is. All right, so pause this video and go do that and then come back. Okay, welcome back. So the next thing that I want you to do, and I want you to pause the video and write this one down as well, is what's one area in your life, relationships, career, future, health, that you think could be impacting by this amount of time that you're spending on technology in total. All right, pause the video, come back. Don't forget to come back. Okay, welcome back. All right. So the next question goes a little bit further, and it's definitely a little bit different angle, but I want you to think about what you could be potentially missing out on by spending this much time on screens or on technology, no matter what it is. Like, what kind of things do you think you could be missing out on by doing that? All right, so pause the video and write that down. Okay, welcome back. So the thing about those three questions is that kind of gives us a little bit of a base for how much time you use, right? Estimated, you know, how you think that it could be impacting you, and hopefully you were honest about that, and what things you could be missing out on by spending this much time on screens. And it's really important to start with this foundation of knowing this information, because now we can start digging into how we can change that, how we can use that to actually move us forward. All right. So the next question I want you to, or next thing that I want you to write down is, what are your top 3 priorities right now? Like across the board, what are the 3 things that are the biggest priority to you right now in your life? Write them down. And then we're going to talk about how we can possibly try to use tech to align with those goals or those priorities. So pause this video and come back. All right. Okay, welcome back. So I just had you write down the top 3 priorities. So, if one of your priorities is, you want to get better at basketball because you want to try to make the varsity team, or you want to try to go play in college. All right, that's a big priority. That's something that clearly takes a lot of time, right? So how can we use technology to actually help us get there? So we're still using our technology, right? And we may be using it in a different way. Sure, it's not going to be the same as playing video games, but how can we use it to actually make us better? Well, one thing you can do is you can play NBA 2K. And believe it or not, you can actually learn a lot from playing NBA 2K if you're doing it right. If you're actually using the game in a way that teaches you things by learning different offenses, learning different defenses, or learning the structure of teams and how people can, cuts and like all that different stuff. You can learn things about that, different moves you can learn from NBA 2K. So I'm not suggesting that replaces exercise time or drills, because it doesn't. I'm just saying, like, if you have to play a video game, and you're wanting to get better at basketball, that is something you can do that is a video game that can actually make you better. Another way is watching videos on YouTube. Watching YouTube videos of other players, of film studies, or people, pointing out how to do different zone defenses, how to run different offenses, and just breaking down moves in general. There's a lot of things that you can learn by watching videos. Now, you have to be careful with this, so that you don't go down the rabbit hole and end up watching for hours on end, because it's the same thing. It's still going to negatively impact you if you're watching it for hours. You don't need to do that. Watch a video, go work on it, come back, go study it, come back, do that kind of stuff. So even if you're playing a video game, say you're playing Call of Duty, all right, you can still find ways to interject inside of that. It's like in between matches, instead of changing all your settings and changing your attachments and all that kind of stuff, you can do leg wraps sitting right there. You can do finger taps. You could do some stationary dribbling. You could do some footwork. Like, you can work on things in between matches or while you're waiting to respawn, whatever it is. So it's really about just trying to find ways that we can inject our priorities into our technology time, because one, that obviously gives us more time that we're working on our craft, right? But the other part of that is it actually makes it a little bit easier to later cut down on that tech time completely. Not completely eliminate, but cut down on the amount of time we spend on it, okay? Another way that you can use technology or help fix the technology problem, if you think that you might be addicted, or if you think it might just be a bad habit you have and it's not quite an addiction yet. Like, if you get mad when you don't get to play Xbox every day, or you don't get to play a certain amount of time, then it's very possible it could be an addiction for you. If you just love playing it all the time, and you're fine if you don't have it, you're fine if you do have it, then it's probably just a habit for you to play a lot, versus it actually being addiction. But that's something you'll have to get help with to figure out, or and you can message me if you want help figuring that out, or talk to someone else that you trust that you think might be able to help you with that. But that's important to know. And some other ways that we can replace technology time is, instead of binge watching or scrolling on your phone or watching another show or watching another movie, exercise for 15 minutes. Don't just eliminate the tech time, like replace it with something productive, and you're going to feel much better. You may be tired, but you're going to feel so much better after you get done exercising instead of scrolling on your phone that it's unlikely you're not going to want to keep doing it. All right. Something else is journaling or reading a book. And believe it or not, reading can actually be a negative addiction as well. And most people don't think about that. But if you read for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, that's really no different than spending 6, 8 hours on TV, on technology. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that reading and technology are equal. I'm just saying, like, it's still as negatively impactful simply because it's taking away time from you to work on your craft in physical form or mental form. Now, if you're reading books that are relative to your field or your career or your sport, then obviously that's a different story. So, it's not really just a clean cut, yes or no, this is bad for you, and that's not. But journaling and reading a book are two great ways to replace tech time that will absolutely level you up mentally and in physical form. Something else you could do is spend time on a passion project, something you're passionate about that, maybe it's a hobby, something that you don't normally work on. And just instead of getting on a show or TV or, scroll social media, go work on that hobby and, for a certain amount of time. Something else that you can do that I would encourage you to be careful about if you use this one, because it can go awry as well. But that is to reward yourself, for staying disciplined. So, if you have a tech limit for the week or for the day and you're hitting that consistently, then reward yourself some way. Maybe it's to watch an extra movie that week, or maybe it's to grab a snack that you've been putting off, or maybe it's just you need some chill time. Whatever it is, like, reward yourself with something small for continuing to be consistent and disciplined. That's important. And remember that not all tech is bad. It's how we leverage it, or whether we leverage it in the right ways for growth, that really matter the most. So, if you're using educational platforms like Masterclass, Skillshare, YouTube, watching videos like this, or watching similar videos to grow, that's a different story. Now, if you're watching it mindlessly just to, entertain yourself, that's obviously a different story. And there's room for that. There's a place for that. There's a time for that. But knowing when that is the key to success. Replace endless scrolling or video games or whatever it is with curated learning on topics you love. So that way you're learning, you're getting smarter, and you're leveling up yourself rather than just melting away. All right. And something else, honestly, to think about with the whole technology and cutting back, like, I know it's scary, and honestly, and there's some truth to this. There are a lot of people, or some people, who will watch this video and may never watch another video again, simply because they think that I'm bashing technology. And I promise you I'm not. I use a lot of technology for my business. I use a lot of technology outside of my business, but I leverage it in certain ways so that I feel like I'm getting the best of both worlds. But the cool thing about when you cut back is that the time you do spend on tech is going to feel more valuable, because when you put off that favorite movie that you're wanting to watch, or that new movie you're wanting to watch, or you put off playing video games with your friends until a certain time, and you only play for a certain length of time, you really cherish that time more than you do if you're doing it all the time, because then it's just like nothing. It's just what you do. It's a habit, and we don't think about our habits consciously, right? I mean, our habits, we just do them. So if you're habitually watching movies all the time, or you're habitually playing video games for long lengths of time, you're not going to enjoy it as much as if you do it in short amounts of time, or less amount of time, or more periodically. So it really does heighten the value of the tech time whenever you actually cut down on it. Maybe you after a long productive day or after a whole bunch of working out or drills and exercising, you finally get to sit down and play some video games. That's going to feel amazing. Like, you're going to feel so relaxed and you're going to feel so ready to do that. And that's awesome. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, with that being said, if the whole time that you're training or the whole time that you're working on your craft or your career, you're thinking about the technology, that's a problem. And that also tells you that you probably have an addiction. That's kind of the tricky part, is cherishing that tech time that you've cut down and that you're prioritizing in certain ways, but also not allowing it to affect the time that you're not on technology. And that is a real struggle for some people. Some people, they can't help but think about what they're going to do next time they get on technology, even while they're not on it. And if you find yourself there, then that's something to definitely get help with, or watch some of my other videos and see if they can help you tackle that and conquer that. All right. But if you picture yourself with sharper focus, more free time, and achieving your goals faster and feeling less stressed, less pressure, you're able to sleep better, all because you took control of your habits, how awesome would that be? How awesome would that feel? Just think about that for a minute. Seriously, think about how awesome or amazing it would feel to be laser focused and have more time, more free time, and to be achieving your goals faster than you are right now. Think about how awesome that would be. Sounds pretty awesome to me. So I'm going to leave you with a 7-day challenge. All right. And I'm going to be honest with you. Most people that watch this video will not do the 7-day challenge. Some people will do the 7-day challenge and they'll only half do it. And some people will take this and they'll really maximize it and really actually use it to change their lives. So whatever you do with it is completely up to you. But here is your 7-day challenge. I want you to track your screen time daily, or your tech time daily. So whether it's listening to music on your earbuds, whether it's playing video games, whether it's watching videos, watching movies, TV, whatever tech it is, it doesn't matter. And even if it's not on your phone and you're watching someone else's phone, that's still tech time. Okay? So any tech time at all, I want you to track for the next 7 days. Then what I want you to do is I want you to try to cut it down every 2 days by 10 to 20%. Every 2 days, try to cut that down by 10 to 20%. And then I also want you to journal your progress and reflect on how you feel each and every day at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day. So the journaling can be really quick. All right, that shouldn't take more than just a couple of minutes, maybe even 30 seconds. You can jot down a couple of sentences and that's it. All right, so it doesn't have to be anything lengthy, but that in and of itself can create discipline, and it's going to be hard for a lot of people to do. But make sure that you're doing the journaling. Okay, journaling your progress and journaling how you feel about cutting back on technology, how you feel about knowing how much you're using, and how you feel about going forward doing that. But as we end this video, I do want to ask you to, one, make sure you subscribe and make sure that you hit the bell, and make sure you like and comment as well if you enjoyed this video. But remember, technology is a tool, okay? And it is not our master unless we allow it to be our master. All right, we can master it. We can control our tech time. We can control technology, and that's what we have to do. We have to take control and unlock our time, our energy, and increase our focus to crush our goals and really enjoy life to the fullest every single day. All right. And again, that doesn't mean eliminate technology. None of us want to do that. All right. We all love our technology, and I think that's perfectly fine. All right. So if this video resonated with you, again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more tips on leveling up your life. And there's so much more to come. Comment below if you got any suggestions, or if you got any feelings on it, or comment below with your, how things are going, how your progress is going. But all right. Thank you. Have a legendary mentality.